Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. And we are going to start with academic reading. So get ready for that. Okay. Well, academic reading is challenging for students and those who are gender training IELTS candidates. For them, it's a very good opportunity to understand gender training reading part 3, because gender training reading part 3 is exactly the same like academic reading, and that part is the toughest one. How many of you are gender training? Now imagine you are solving 3 passages, and these 3 passages are from GT reading part 3. Okay, those who are academic IELTS candidates, you need to see, I mean, we have a long passage, but we are not supposed to read all the passage. I mean, it is not necessary that you read all the passage and then you will find the answer. Your only purpose to go through the passage is to find the answer. If there are 13 questions in one passage, it means there are 13 sentences which you have to read to find the answer. Now, spotting those 13 sentences is very essential. And sometimes you are reading the wrong sentence and still you find your answer, and that answer is usually wrong. Okay, so you will learn today, you will learn how to read the question. Second, you will learn after reading the question how to reach the paragraph in the passage where there is the answer, and then you will learn how to spot the answer, write the answer, and move on to the next question type. This test is good enough. We have a variety of questions here, especially true, false, not given, multiple choice, sentence completion. So you will get a good opportunity to go through all these questions. Okay. Now, whenever you start your reading, you need to start with the title. Archaeologists discover evidence of prehistoric island settlers. So the whole passage is about the discovery of the evidence of prehistoric, means before history, before the recorded history, prehistoric island settlers. Settlers are people who lived on an island. So this is the title. We understand the title is this, archaeologist and all that, and it can be in the past, present, future, or anything like that. After reading the title, don't read the passage. It's useless. You will waste your time. Sometimes people say skim the passage. Useless. Because your only purpose is to answer the questions. So directly we will come to questions, and we are going to take a look at the questions. Questions 1 to 7, true, false, not given. And I'll give you some very good techniques to differentiate between false and not given. Why answer is going to be false, why not given, and why true and why false, I'll tell you all that. Questions 8 to 13, they are sentence completion. Okay, now it is not necessary that you follow this order, that first you do 1 to 7, then you do 8 to 13. You can follow your own order. And by the way, passage is not like 1 to 7 you will find in first paragraph, 8 to 13 you will find in the last paragraphs. It's not like that. So you need to see your own convenience. According to me, sentence completion question types, they are the easiest ones. So it's a good idea to start from 8 to 13. After that, you can come to true, false, not given, and you can solve that comfortably, right? So let's get started. One word only, and in reading, you should not have any spelling mistake, because you are going to copy the word from the passage and you're going to write it down as it is. So be careful, and in reading, do not trust your personal memory and your own spelling. That you say, I know the spelling of this word. Just copy paste it. And make sure you've written the right answer. One wrong answer can drop your band from 7 to 6.5. Keep that in mind, okay? So, the title is Archaeological Findings on OB. Now we go back and we see where do they talk about OB. Scan the word OB. OB. Third paragraph, first line, and you can see the word OB. Now, what do we call it? We call it locating the clue word in the passage. Now, we know answer is here, and the good news is all the answers will come in order. First, you will find the answer to question number 8, then 9, then 10, 11, and all that, okay? So, this is how you need to locate. So far, we have not read the passage. We have only located, now the answer is here. Now, we read the question. Excavations of rock shelters inside dash. Underline the word inside. Now rock shelters inside dash near the village. Now inside, synonym of inside. Inside, in, or any other word. Please come to third passage. I'm reading third passage, first line. Just inland from the village of Kello on Obi's northern coast, Shipton and his colleagues found two caves containing prehistoric rock shelters. Now, where are prehistoric rock shelters? In two caves. Exactly. They found two caves. And these caves, now they mentioned inside caves. Right? Now, one thing is, I found your bag inside the room. Second is, I found your, like they said, I found two bags in the room, something like that, okay? So, correct answer over here is caves. As they said, found two caves containing. Now, containing means inside, exactly, right? Room containing my mobile, or my mobile is in the room. So, correct answer is cave or caves? You need to copy paste it. That's it. They have written caves. You have to write caves and all that. Then can you see 14,000? But there is no question. It means you need to leave that line. Then can you see 11,700? Locate it in the passage. 11,700. 11,700. 11,700. Next page, first paragraph. Now, this is the location of your answer. All right, don't do any extra reading. If you do it like this, you can finish it in 40-50 minutes. And if you do extra reading, by the time you reach 11,700, you read everything on your way, then you will waste your time and you cannot manage reading. Okay? So, now we read the question. Axes made out of, you know axes. You still remember the story of woodcutter. Okay, axes made. Made means material. Now, answer is going to be material. Let's come back. Spot the word axes. Can you see axes? Third line. Okay, second page, first paragraph, third line. It is no coincidence that around this time the first axes crafted from stone. Now, crafted and made, they are synonyms. Correct answer is, well done. Stone is the right answer. That's a good start. See, if you start smoothly, then you feel good and you solve the test very well. All right, let's go on. Dash of an animal. Now, it's going to be part of an animal's body. Dash of an animal. Evidence of what ancient islanders ate. Dash of an animal. Evidence of ancient islanders ate. Let's come back. So, something related to animal and Icelanders ate. Please come to second paragraph. Second page, second paragraph. Judging by the bones which the researchers unearthed in the Kello caves, people living there mainly hunted the Rothschild's cuscus. Now this Rothschild's cuscus, a possum-like creature that still lives on Obi today. Now, what is it that they found? Dash of an animal. What of an animal? Exactly, bones of an animal. For animal, they use the word possum-like creature. Right? That is Rothschild's cuscus, a possum-like creature and all that. So what did they find? They found bones. Okay? So, yes? Yeah. It depends. Sometimes before the blank, sometimes after the blank. It depends. Now see, over here we have the word animal. And for animal, they have given the name of animal. Now we are going to see part of animal's body. It can be animal's skin, animal's bones, animal's any other thing. Okay, like that. All right, now we go on. Evidence of travel between islands. Then we talk about obsidian, a material that is not found naturally on Obi. Okay, obsidian is a material. Next, question number 11. Dash which resembled. Underline the word resembled. For resemble, they use the word look like, similar, identical. So dash which resembled ones found on other islands. Now we are going to see what resembles another thing which they found on other island. For example, they found a bottle and that bottle resembles the bottle found on another island. So let's go back and we see what do they talk about. It's the third paragraph where they talk about this thing. So I'm going to read it from the beginning. Shipton's team excavation of the shelters. Please come to third line. It also revealed, third line, third paragraph, third line after full stop. It also revealed particular types of beads similar to those previously found on island in southern Wallacea. So what is the answer? Answer is beads. Exactly. It also revealed particular types of beads similar to. Now beads are similar to those. What do they mean by those? No, those means beads. Exactly. So type of beads similar to beads, if you read it beads, similar to beads previously found on an island in southern Wallacea. So island in southern Wallacea, for that they use the word on other island. Now that other island is that Wallacea island. So correct answer is beads, which resembled. And what is the word for resembled? Similar. Okay, then they talk about 8,000 years. They talk about fishing. Can you see fishing and 8,000 years? Fourth paragraph. It means we need to go beyond that point. Okay? So you understand now 8,000 years fishing, but there is no question there. So we will go beyond that point. Now, may have switched from hunting to fishing. Had dash as well as items made out of metal. Two things. They had something and as well as items made from metal. Now please come back. We go to the last paragraph. Just look for something metal. Whatever the reason for the departure, there is no evidence for use of the Calo shelters after this time until about 1,000 years ago, when they were reoccupied by people who owned pottery as well as items made out of gold. Now what is gold? Metal. What is the answer? Pottery. Well done. Very good. Got the point? Okay, made items out of gold, and for that they said items made out of metal. Gold is metal, and correct answer is pottery. Question number 13. Probably took part in the production and sale. Now see, production means manufacturing, sale means trade. Okay, so please come back. Last paragraph, I'm reading it from second last line. That this final phase of occupation, found it? Final phase of occupation also saw the Calo shelters used by people involved in the historic trade in spices. Now trade in spices, what does it mean? Probably took part in the production and sale of spices. Sale of spices means trade of spices. Correct answer is spices. Well done. Now we've answered these questions. How many questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll be confident and we can go on and see other answers. And one more thing, if you put a word here, after that try to read the sentence. If your answer is correct, sentence will make sense. And if your answer is wrong, sentence will not make sense. Okay, but now maybe it makes sense to you, okay, because you have put the wrong word, but still it makes sense to you. Anyways, now we go on. We have true, false, not given. In true, false, not given, you are going to read the sentence carefully. In the sentence, sometimes there is a word or otherwise there is a phrase. That phrase is going to decide whether the answer is true, false, or not given. Most important part of true, false, not given is the question, because passage is straightforward. all the tricks they have, those tricks are applied in the questions. So I will just tell you which part of the question is important. And when you read the question, you have to divide the question in 3 parts. If answer is this, it is true. If answer is that, it is false. And if it's neither this nor that, then it is not given. Now let's see, we do it together. Archaeological research had taken place on the island of Obi before, underline the word before. In true, false, not given, yes, no, not given, you will find the word before many times. Okay? Now, archaeological research had taken place on the island of Obi before the arrival of Carey Shipton and his colleagues. Now listen, if it happened before the arrival of Carey Shipton and his team, answer is true. If it happened after their arrival, answer is false. And if they don't tell us before or after, answer is not given. Now over here, solely the word before will decide the answer. And you will find before in many other true, false, not given as well. Now please come back, first paragraph, first line. There you can see the word, this Carey Shipton and colleagues and all that. So I'm reading it, first paragraph, first line. In early April 2019, Dr. Carey Shipton and his colleagues from Australian National University became the first archaeologists to explore OB. Now when they are first, so do you think research had started before them? No, because they were first. Now remember, whenever they use the word before, if they use the word first, it means answer is going to be false. Right? Because when they say first, it means before nobody had done anything. They were the first one. They started it. Okay? Now over here they say first. Now come to question. Question number 1. Archaeological research had taken place on the island of Obi before the arrival. How come? They were the first ones. Right? So answer is false. It's just like Neil Armstrong went to moon first. Nobody else went. So say, many people had gone to moon before Neil Armstrong. No, nobody had gone. He was the first. When you say first one means nobody had done anything like that before. So correct answer is false. Is this clear? Just because of the word before. Question number 2. At the Kello sites, the researchers found first calm shell axis. Underline first. Again, these words are very important. First calm shell axis. First clam shell axis ever to be discovered in the region. Now listen, if they found first, listen, you don't need to know what is the meaning of clam shell axis. It's a type of axis, right? Now if they say clam shell axis, they were made out of some shells and all that. But you really don't need to know, okay? So if at Kello sites, researchers found first clam shell axis, answer is true. If they had been found before, clamshell axes were found before, then answer is false. And if they don't tell us whether those axes were the first ones, second ones, last ones, then answer is not given. Okay? Now the clue word is clamshell axis. Look for clamshell axis. Clamshells. Well done. Third paragraph. Everyone, third paragraph, can you see 14,000 years ago? I'm reading after that. Third paragraph, 14,000 years ago, I'm reading after that. The earliest axes at Kello were made using clam shells. Axes made from clam shells from roughly the same time had also previously been found elsewhere in this region. What does it mean? They say at the Kello sites, researchers found the first clam shells. In the question, they say first. In the passage, they say previously been found elsewhere. So were they first ones? No, they were not the first ones. They were previously found as well. So that is why the answer to question number 2 is false. And have you noticed? 2 false answers. I solved the test. First 3 answers were not given. And students, get panicked. Why every answer is not given? And then they start thinking that maybe I cannot find the answer. But don't worry, it's normal.
Sir, can you explain this point because I mentioned not given to this?
Listen. The point first first clamshell axis. Now, right, in the passage they say they were previously found. When they were previously found, they were not the first ones. They may be the second ones, third ones, and all that, okay? That's why. Question number 3. Size of Obi today is less than it was 18,000 years ago. Now look here. If the size is less, answer is true. If the size is more, answer is false. And if they don't tell us whether the size is less or more, then the answer is not given. Now 18,000 year is our clue word. Find 18,000 years. Okay, it's the 4th paragraph. In the middle, second line, you can see around 18,000 years. I'm reading after this. Please follow me. 4th paragraph, second line after full stop. At this time, the climate was drier and colder than today, and the island's dense rainforest would likely have been much less impenetrable than they are now. Sea levels were about 120 meters lower, meaning Obi was much larger island. Now, much larger island means in the past. Obi was much larger island, encompassing which is today the separate island of Bisa, as well as several other small islands nearby. What does it mean? In the past, it was bigger. Now it is smaller. Now, what's the question? The size of Obi today is less than it was 18,000 years. Exactly. That's what they say. The sea level rose and the size squeezed. So correct answer for question number 3 is true. Good. And one more thing. For true, false, don't write yes, no. And for true, false, don't write capital T and capital F. You need to write full word. True, false, not given. Full words, okay? Don't write NG, T, F, and all that. Question number 4. A change in the climate around 11,700 years ago had a greater impact, underline greater impact, on Obi than on the surrounding islands. Now just imagine, and you know, whatever you read, you will have to imagine that as well. 11,000 years ago, right? There was the climate change, and the impact of climate change had greater impact on Obi than the surrounding islands. So if it had greater impact on Obi than the other islands, answer is true. If it had lesser impact than the other islands, then answer is false. And if they don't tell us whether the impact was greater or lesser, then the answer is not given. Okay, now please come back. Second page. You see the word 11,700, right? Now I'm reading from there. Second page, first paragraph, first line. Roughly 11,700 years ago, as the most recent ice age ended, the climate became significantly warmer and wetter. What is that? Climate change. Now let's see the impact. No doubt, making Obi's jungle much thicker. Jungle became thicker, but Obi was impacted more or less, not mentioned. According to the researchers, it is no coincidence that around this time the first axis crafted. Now they have changed the topic, so you don't need to read more. Now, have they mentioned anything that the climate change impacted Obi more than other islands, or other islands were impacted more than Obi? There is no mention, so what is the answer? Not given. Okay. All right, now let's go on. Question number 5. Researchers believe there is a connection between warmer, wetter weather and a change in the material used to make axes. Now this answer you will find, because you know we have already read warmer and wetter. So once again you will have to go back where you found the word warmer and wetter, and then he's connecting it with axes. So let's go back. I'm reading the same paragraph from the beginning. Second page, first paragraph. Roughly 11,700 years ago, the most recent ice age ended. Climate became significantly warmer and wetter. Now, what do we have to check? We have to check, because of the warmer and wetter climate, they changed the material used to make axes. This is what we have to check. If they change the material to make axes because of the climate change, answer is true. If they changed it due to some other reason, then answer is false. And otherwise, if they don't tell us, then it is not given. So please come back to the passage. I'm reading it from second line after full stop. Second page, first paragraph, second line after full stop. According to the researchers, it is no coincidence that around this time, the first axes crafted from stone rather than seashells appear, likely in response to their heavy duty use for clearing and modification of the increasingly dense rainforest. So they changed the material of their axes. Why? Because they had to cut heavily dense rainforest. So that material was changed because of weather. So what is the question? The question is, researchers believe there is a connection between warmer, wetter weather and change in the material. So answer is true. Well done. Yes? That is a different question. Now we are talking about X. That impact was on the city Obi. Number 4. Yeah, what's the question? All right. Listen. Question. Are you confused about question number 4? 5 is okay? All right, listen now. Change in the climate around 11,007 years ago had a greater impact on Obi. Now, the impact of climate change on Obi than other islands. They said Obi had greater impact than other islands. In the passage, they did not compare Obi with other islands. That's the thing, okay? All right, now let's go on. Question number 6. Shipton's team were surprised. Underline the word surprised. They play like this. Shipton's team were surprised to find evidence of the Obi's Icelanders' hunting practices. If they were surprised about their hunting practices, like some old tribes, even today they are hunting monkeys and other animals and all that. So Shipton's team were surprised to find the evidence of Obi Islanders' hunting practice. If they were surprised about their hunting practice, answer is true. If they were not surprised, they were expecting that, answer is false. And if they don't mention whether they were surprised or they were not surprised, then not given. Now let's go back. It's the second paragraph. Second page, second paragraph. There they talk about hunting and all that. Judging by the bones which the researchers unearthed in Kello caves, people living there mainly hunted this animal creature that still lives on Obi today. As the forest grew more dense, people probably used axes to clear patches of forest and make hunting easier. Now, is there any mention that they were surprised or they were not surprised when they found about their hunting practices? There is no mention that the experts were surprised or they were not surprised. That is why this answer is not given. Okay, let's go on. Question number 7. It is thought that the Kello shelters were occupied continuously until about 1,000 years ago. Now, if they were occupied means people lived there. If they were occupied continuously, right, until about 1,000 years ago, answer is true. If they were deserted, like for example, people used them for 100 years, then they left them, then they reused them, something like that, then the answer is going to be false. And if they don't tell us whether people occupied continuously, occupied means they lived there, right? So answer will be not given. Now let's go back. We will look for the word shelters and 1,000 years ago. Good. Last paragraph, we have 1,000 years there. I'm reading last paragraph from first line. Whatever the reason for the departure, there is no evidence for use of the Kello shelters after this time until about 1,000 years ago. There is no evidence for use of the Kello shelters after this time until about 1,000 years ago. What's the question? It is thought that the Kello shelters were occupied continuously. They say there is no evidence. All right, now let's start with the second passage, reading passage 2. Global importance of wetlands. Wetlands are lands which are wet. Okay, so what is the global importance of wetlands? Like globally, why wetlands are important? This is the passage, and you can see passage is labeled A, B, C, D. Whenever passage is labeled, bad news. Bad news is there can be type B questions. Type B is a question type where questions and answers are not in order. Like for true false not given, for sentence completion, questions and answers were in order. But now there would be some questions where questions and answers are not in order. Mainly there are two types of questions. The first type is which paragraph contains the following information, and the second type is list of headings. Otherwise, other questions are type A. Questions and answers are in order. Okay, so global importance of wetlands. Now we come to questions. Questions 14 to 17. Which paragraph contains the following information? Questions 18 to 22. Sentence completion with one word only. Questions 23 to 26. Matching. Where should we start from? Exactly. We need to start from complete the sentences below. These are 5 questions. After doing these 5 questions, it's a good idea to come to 23 to 26. They are also type A. And finally, you can come to 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. But it's a good idea to read questions 14 to 17 first. Why? If you're solving the other question and suddenly you find a clue, so you can answer these questions as well, right? So let's go through questions 14 to 17. Reference to the need to ensure that inhabitants of wetland regions continue to benefit. Underline inhabitants, wetland regions continue to benefit. So in one paragraph, they would mention that the people who live in wetland, they will continue to benefit. Question number 15. Proportion of wetlands which have already been lost. Proportion. For proportion, they use the word 2/3, 1/3, half of them, 50%, 30%, anything like that. So underline the word proportion. And for proportion, you will look for anything like half, 1/3, 2/3, 20%, and all that. Question number 16, reference to the idea that people are beginning to appreciate the value of wetland. Underline, people are beginning to appreciate. Okay, now in one paragraph they say people appreciate wetlands or they like wetlands or anything like that. Question number 17, mention of the cultural significance of wetlands. Underline cultural significance. They will talk about any tribe, any country, any region where they link wetlands with their culture. It's the part of their culture, or they have some traditions which are related to that. So these are the questions, and in reading you need to use your imagination. I mean, whatever, now I'm reading it, I'm imagining. When I read culture, I imagine some tribes, some old people. So this is how I can go into the passage and I can remember the things. Otherwise, things will slip out of your mind. Now, we come to questions 18 to 22. One word only. Question number 18. Peatlands which have been drained begin to release dash instead of storing it. The first thing is peatlands. Now look for peatlands. Come back, look for peatlands. Well done. In paragraph D, we have the word peatland. It means answer is here. Now please come back to question again. Peatlands which have been drained begin to release. Now what is it that they are releasing instead of storing it? They are not storing it, they are releasing it. So we come back. Paragraph D for doctor. I'm reading it from third line after full stop. When peatlands are drained. Found it? Okay, when peatlands are drained for cultivation, they become net carbon emitters instead of carbon stores. What is the answer? Carbon. They emit carbon. Emit means kharij karna. They emit carbons instead of active carbon stores. So what is the answer? Carbon. And what is the word? What is the synonym of release? Emitters or emit. Well done. See, it's easy. Now you found one answer. Read on, you will find other answers. Question number 19. Once peatland areas have been cleared, dash are more likely to occur. Let's come back. Same paragraph, clear and all that. I'm reading it from third last line. Can you see the word clearance? I'm reading on. Clearance of peatlands for planting also increases the risk of forest fires. Now, what is the answer? Why not forest fires? It's only one word. Well done. So, risk of. What is the word for risk? More likely. Well done. More likely is the synonym of risks, and correct answer is fires. They have written fires. You write fires. Okay, don't write singular, plural. Question number 20. Clearing peatland forests to make way for oil palm plantation destroys the dash of the local environment. Destroys. For that they may use the word damage, destroy, anything like that. Same paragraph. I'm reading after fires. Which release? Found it? Can you see CO2? I'm reading on from here. Which release huge amounts of CO2, carbon dioxide. We are seeing huge peatland forests with extremely high biodiversity value being lost for a few decades of oil palm. Now, what is being lost? Biodiversity. Being lost means destroys. Exactly. Now, the synonym of destroys is being lost, and answer is biodiversity. All right, let's go on. Question number 21. Water is drained out of peatlands through the dash. Now, water is drained through something. Through the dash, which are created by logging companies. Now, logging companies, I told you yesterday, they cut the trees. So, logging companies are doing something and the water is drained out with the help of that. Please come to second page. Can you see the word logging companies? That is our clue word. Second page, paragraph E. The damage starts when logging companies arrive to clear the tree. They, what do they mean by they? Logging companies. They dig ditches to enter the peat swamps by boat and then float the logs out of the same way. These, what do they mean by these? Ditches. Now, this is very important. Without it, you will not find the answer. First, they means logging companies. Then these means ditches. These are then used to drain water out of the peatlands. Now, what is used to drain water? Ditches. Like you say, khadda and all that. Okay. So, correct answer is ditches. Through the ditches which are created by logging companies. And what is the word for created? Dig. Excellent. Very good. Dig and created. And correct answer is ditches. Yeah, it's with D, not with B. All right, let's go on. Question number 22. Draining peatlands leads to dash, a serious problem. Now, when you drain peatlands, it leads to something which is a serious problem which can eventually result in coastal flooding and land loss. Same paragraph. I'm reading it from the middle. Can you see CO2? Paragraph E for elephant, CO2 and methane. Meanwhile, the remainder of the solid matter in the peat starts to move downwards. In a process known as subsidence, peat comprises 90% water. So this is one of the most alarming consequences of peatland clearance. Now this is, what do they mean by this? Exactly, subsidence. And can you see double star with subsidence? Subsidence is a terminology and common people don't understand. For that they have given the meaning at the end. Can you see at the bottom of the page? Bottom of the page, do you have that or not? Yeah, it's there, bottom of the page. Subsidence, the sinking of the earth's surface most often caused by the removal of resources from the ground. Okay, so what's the right answer? Subsidence. Okay, now come back to the question. Draining peatlands leads to subsidence, a serious problem which can eventually result in coastal flooding. Subsidence. Okay, that's the right answer. So we've answered 5 questions just from 2 paragraphs. Now, where should we go? 23 to 26? Yeah, that's a good idea. Listen now. Questions 23 to 26, this is what we call matching. You have to match the questions, which are the statements, with the list of experts. Sometimes they give you list of researchers, list of experts, list of something like that. Questions and the passage, they are not in order. Bad news. Good news, list of researchers, they are in order. Now just look for Matthew. Go back and look for Matthew. Matthew. Okay, in paragraph B, we've got the word Matthew. Dr. Matthew. Okay. Can you see Matthew somewhere else? Can you find him somewhere else? They may use Matthew a couple of times. In paragraph, his full name is Matthew McCartney. In paragraph G also you find it. So you need to scan all the passage, and sometimes they write first name, sometimes last name. So you can find it in G also. Now come to Peter. Peter Van. Look for Peter Van. Peter engine. Paragraph C. Underline that and write there B. Just encircle Peter and write B so that you know B is here. C. Marshall. Marcel in French we say. Marshall. Marshall or Marcel. In paragraph D, okay, can you find him somewhere else as well? In paragraph E, do we have Marshall, Marcel? Yeah, his full name is Sylvius. And then you can see him again in paragraph H. Right? All right. Now, finally come to Dave Tickner. Dave Tickner. Paragraph F, and you will find Dave Tickner. Okay, so this is what you have located. Now, please listen carefully. You may find one name in 2 to 3 locations, right? Important thing is the statement of that very person. For instance, you found this Peter, so you're going to see inverted commas. Where there are inverted commas, you will find their statements, and you need to match, though if they mention the name. For example, if they say Peter Van from the University of this in Canada and all that, he's a great researcher, and they don't give his statement, you don't need to read from there. If they say Peter says, Peter argues, or after Peter there are inverted commas. So those are the statements which you need to read carefully. Okay. Now, what are we going to do? First of all, we go to Matthew McCartney. Matthew McCartney, right? So where do you find Matthew? Paragraph E. E for elephant, right? B for boy. Okay, that's right. Now, I read from here, paragraph B. Consequently, they are of considerable religious, historical, and archaeological value to many communities around the world. Wetlands directors support the livelihood and well-being of millions of people, says Dr. Matthew McCartney. Now, this is the statement. Consequently, they are. What do they mean by they are? They means wetlands. They said humans have gathered around wetlands and their fertile ecosystem have played an important part in human development. Consequently, they are of considerable religious. They are means wetlands are. Hey, just a minute. Read this line. They are of considerable religious, historical, and archaeological value. Religious value. It is related to culture. Does it ring a bell? Yes. Which question? 17. Well done. Very good. Mention of the cultural significance of Wetlands. Wow. लेने हम सेब गए थे, हमें नाशपाती भी मिल गई. हाँ, okay. So cultural significance. What is the word for cultural significance? They are of considerable religious, historical, and archaeological value. Value means significance, and religious, historical, and archaeological means cultural. So for question number 17, right answer is B. B for boy. All right. Now we come back to questions 23 to 26. Let's go through them. Questions 23 to 26. Communities living in wetland regions must be included in discussions about the future of these areas. Right? So just keep that in mind. That's what they say. Communities living in wetland regions must be included in discussions about the future of these areas. We did another question about future. Yeah, that is question number 14. Take a look. These two questions are similar. What is question number 14? Reference to the need to ensure that inhabitants of wetland regions continue to benefit from them. All right. Question number 24, please. Let's read all of them. Official policies, underline official policies towards wetlands vary, underline vary. Official policies vary from one nation to the next. So it means there is a variation in official policies. Question number 25. People cause harm to wetlands without having any intention to do so. So people harm without intention. Means they don't want to harm them, but they are actually doing it. Question number 26. Initiatives to reserve environmental damage. Initiatives means they have started a scheme. Whenever they use the word initiative, they have started a scheme or a project or a plan to reverse environmental damage. Need not to be complex. So it should not be difficult and all that. Anyways, let's come back. We were looking for Matthew McCartney. Now we found Matthew McCartney here in paragraph B, but unfortunately, wetlands directors support the livelihood and all that. We do not match anything with that. Can you see Matthew McCartney anywhere else? Please now come to paragraph G. Everybody, paragraph G, and I'm reading it from third line after full stop. This approach, found it? This approach is supported by IWMI. The idea is that people in developing country will only protect wetlands if they value and profit from them. Excuse me. Which question? Exactly. Yeah. The idea is that people in developing country will only protect wetlands if they value and profit from them. हम करना कुछ और चाह रहे हैं, हो कुछ और रहा है. Question number 14. Reference to the need to ensure that inhabitants of wetland regions continue to benefit from them. So answer is G. And you know, this is only because we have read the questions already. So always remember, for which paragraph contains the following information, read the questions first, do them last. And by the time when you come now, see, we have already answered 2 questions. So that's good. All right, now let's come back to Matthew McCartney. I'm back to paragraph G. Please follow me. Paragraph G, and I'm reading it from second last line. Says McCartney. Next line. Again, inverted commas. Can you see that? So, for sustainability, it is essential that local people are involved in wetland planning and decision making. Tell me, question number. Local people are involved in planning and decision making. Question number 23. Communities living. That means local people. Regions must be included. What is must be included? Must be included means involved. Right? Must be included, that means involved in discussions about the future of these areas. So question number 23, correct answer is A. All right, now please find Peter. Peter Van Ejik. All right, Paragraph B, and we find Peter there. C? Okay. All right. Let's read paragraph C, and we have Peter over there. They also serve a crucial environmental purpose. Wetlands are one of the key tools in mitigating climate change across the planet. Do we have anything related to climate change? And you have answered question number 23. So please cross 23. You will not do it again. 24, 25, 26. Anything about climate change? No. Let's go on. All right. Same paragraph. Will you please come to third last line after full stop? Can you see inverted comma? It can be, right? It can be as simple as planting a few trees per hectare to create shade and sustainability. Substantially. Sorry, it's another word. Substantially change a microclimate. He says implementing climate change projects isn't so much about money. Now let's go back. See if it matches anything. He says as simple as. It is as simple as. What does it mean? It should not be complex. When he says it's as simple as, it means it should not be complex, and that is question number 26. Initiatives to remove environmental damage need not be complex. So, question number 26, correct answer is B. Now, please cross 26 as well. Who is the third one? Marshall Silvius. Now, we go back and we look for Marshall Silvius. Paragraph? B for boy? D for dog. Okay, let's see. Marshall Silvius. All right. At the end, they have mentioned Silvius. So let's see. In fourth line also they have Silvius. Yeah. According to Marshall Silvius, head of climate smart land. I'm reading paragraph D from the middle. Can you see the word WI? Yeah, you will see it because it is like Wi-Fi. Huh? ये तो सबको नजर आएगा. Okay, so smart land use of WI, this practice causes 6% of global carbon emission. The clearance of peatlands for planting also increases the risk of forest fires, which release huge amounts of carbon dioxide. We are seeing huge peatland forest with extremely high biodiversity value being lost for a few decades of oil palm revenues. So, do we have anything? No. Official policies? No. People cause harm to wetlands without having any intention to do so? Not mentioned, and that's it. Now, find Silvius somewhere else. Paragraph? H. Alright, yeah, H, last paragraph. E also, okay, let's find E. Which line? Second last line. Alright, I'm reading it from there. So, let's read it from 90%, one line below 90%. Paragraph E, below 90%. In the tropics, peat subsides at about 4 centimeters a year. So within half a century, very large landscapes on Sumatra and Borneo will become flooded as the peat drops below water level, says Silvius. It's a huge catastrophe that is in preparation. Some provinces will lose 40% of their land mass. Is there any mention of that? No. Look for him again. Look for Silvius again. G. Okay, please come back to paragraph G. Silvius also acknowledges the importance of income generation. Now, inverted commas. It's not that we just want to restore biodiversity of wetlands, which we do, but we recognize there is a need to provide an income for local people. All right. This approach, what is his full name? Marshall Silvius. Okay, so income for local people. This approach is supported by IWMI, The idea is that people in a developing country will only protect wetlands if they value and profit from them, says McCartney. McCartney is different, yeah? Yeah, that is option A we are answered. And then they talk about for... All right, paragraph H. All right. The fortunes of wetlands would be improved, Sylvius suggests, if more governments recognize their long-term value. Different governments have different attitudes. What does it mean? Policies vary. Exactly. Different governments have different attitudes. So that means their policies vary. Which question number is that? 24. Official policies towards wetlands vary. So vary means different governments have different attitudes. Okay. So question number 24, correct answer is C. जनरेशन की तो बात ही नहीं हो रही, नेशन की बात हो रही. ऑफिशियल पॉलिसी देखें, जब वो ये कह रही हैं कि डिफरेंट गवर्नमेंट्स हैव डिफरेंट एटीट्यूड्स, तो क्या मतलब है? Official policies towards wetlands vary from one nation to the next. One nation to the next की जगह पे क्या आ गया? Different governments have different attitudes. ठीक है? All right. Is it going on? Okay. Okay, now what are we left with? Dave. And how many questions are left? That's it. You don't need to read, okay? Which question is left? 25? People cause harm to wetlands without having any intention to do so. All right, let's go for it. Please come to paragraph F. You see Dave Tickner, right? Okay, now I'm reading it, Dave Tickner, third line. Can you see third line? And there are inverted commas even before that. Now what's the question? Let's read the question. People cause harm to wetlands without having any intention to do so. So, let's just read it. Paragraph F. People harm. Third last line, please. Paragraph F, third last line. Tickner does not blame anyone. Found it? Yeah, now let's read from here. Paragraph F, fourth last line. Tickner does not blame anyone for deliberate damage. However, I have worked on wetlands issue for 20 years and have never met anybody who wanted to damage a wetland. I have never met anybody who wanted to damage. What does it mean? People cause harm to wetlands without having any intention because nobody wants to damage. So they are doing it without any intention. Question number 25, correct answer is D. D for doctor. All right, now we come back. Questions 15 and 16. Now for these two questions, you will have to scan all the passage. So question number 15, proportion of wetlands which have already been lost. Listen, listen, listen. You know, whenever they start, you need to understand the type of question which we are dealing with. Whenever they start a passage, what's the title of the passage? Global importance of wetlands. So initially when they start, they just create some suspense, they create some situation. For example, if they're going to make a movie or documentary about Earth. If they say, do you know after 100 years planet Earth will destroy? Everybody is interested. Yeah. There was one Pakistani doctor and he said Qiyamah is about to come. You know the name? Yeah, yeah. He just said that. He just said that in few days and all that stuff, right? So this is how they start. Now, what is the question? The question is proportion of wetlands which have already been lost. Look for paragraph A, B, C. Proportion which has already been lost. Lost means disappear. Lost means disappear. Paragraph A, exactly. Paragraph A, third line. After full stop, but according to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, half of the world's wetlands have disappeared. Half of means proportion and disappeared means lost. So question number 15, correct answer is A. Now question number 16, reference to the idea that people are beginning to appreciate the value of wetlands. Now just see, people have started to appreciate the value of wetlands. Just scan it. या ए से स्टार्ट कर लें, किसी का तो सही हो ही जाएगा. पी, कोई सी बोल दे. बिल्कुल ठीक है, आप अपनी जगह पे सही हैं. Anyone else? All right, listen. Question is mention of the question is reference to the idea that people are beginning to appreciate the value of wetlands. Paragraph H. Everybody, paragraph H. Third last line after full stop. Awareness of the importance of wetlands is growing. He says it's true that wetlands degradation still continues at a rapid pace, but the impression is that things are slowly changing. So, importance of wetlands is growing. Now, importance of wetlands is growing. That means people are beginning to appreciate the value. Value means importance. When importance is growing, it means people are beginning to appreciate the value of wetlands. Question number 16, correct answer is H. All right. Haji ek passage rehanda hai. We are going to do that as well, right? Don't worry. When you go back home, repeat question by question, everything. Once you start understanding, nothing will be difficult, okay? All right, reading passage 3. Is the era of artificial speech translation upon us? Now, you know artificial speech translation. If I record something in Urdu, I can change it to Spanish, German, or any language, right? This is going to be my own voice, and it'll be there in German, Spanish, Italian, and all that. So, is the era of artificial speech translation upon us? Has the time come where we can have artificial speech translation, like you record something in English and then it is automatically transferred to Japanese, Chinese, and all that in your own voice even, okay? Once the stuff of science fiction, technology that enables people to talk using different languages is now here. But how effective it is? Now we understand in this passage, they will discuss that this artificial speech translation, how effective it is. From this we understand, they will talk about the benefits and drawbacks of artificial speech translation. Luckily, passage is not labeled. So when passage is not labeled, we will not have questions like which paragraph contains the following information and list of headings. Now we go to questions. 27 to 30 multiple choice questions. The good news is they are type A. All the questions and answers, they are in order. And I will tell you how to deal with them. Okay. Questions 31 to 34. Complete each sentence with the correct ending. Very common question type. Half sentence is in the question. The second half is in the options and you have to match them. Right? Got the point? Half sentence is in the question, half in the option, and there are always more options than the questions to confuse you, right? And finally, we have yes, no, not given, 35 to 40. Unfortunately, there is no sentence completion. Otherwise, in part 3, we usually have... It started, I don't know, finished. Okay. In part 3, we usually have 4 to 5 questions which are completion type. But over here, we don't have them. Anyways, so where should we start from? Yes, no, not given. Then you can come to multiple choice questions. And finally, you can do 31 to 34. By the way, all 3 question types are type A. Once you find one answer, you will find rest of the answers without any problem. Okay. So, okay. Let's start from question number 35. Language translation system will be seen as very useful throughout the academic and professional worlds. Language translation system Academic and professional words. Now let's go back. We look for academic. Academic means schools, colleges, universities. Academic and professional words. Academic and professional. Look for the word professors, professionals. Second last paragraph. And now the good thing is 2 paragraphs only, and you will find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 answers in only 2 paragraphs. Right? Job is easy. So they say language translation system will be seen as very useful. If it is very useful throughout academic and professional world, answer is yes. Now it's not true, false. It's yes, no. It's yes. If it is not useful, then answer is no, and otherwise not given. So please come back. Second page of the passage, second last paragraph. Professors and other professionals will not outsource language awareness to software. They will not. Who? Professors and professionals will not outsource language awareness to softwares. So will they use it? Will it be beneficial for them? No, they will not outsource. What's the question? The question is, language translation system will be seen very useful. In the passage they say they will not outsource. So answer is no. Well done. Very useful and will not outsource. Question number 36. Overall value of automated translation to family life is yet to be shown. Yet to be shown means it has not shown any value. Family life. Overall value of automated translation to family life is yet to be shown. Yet to be shown means it has not proved yet. Maybe in future it will show its value to family life. Now we go back. Same paragraph, third line. Family. Can you see the word family? Okay. Whether it will help people conduct their family lives or relationships is open to question. Open to question means yet to be shown. Open to question. What's the question now? We come back. This phrase open to question. Overall value of automated translation to family life is yet to be shown. Now write it down. Yet to be shown and open to question, they are synonyms. Open to question and yet to be shown means it's not proved yet. Open to question means something is not proved yet. So correct answer for question number 36 is yes. See, now you're doing high level English, 9 band English, 8 band English, right? Yeah. Question number 37, automated translation could make life more difficult for immigrant families. Now you're going to be immigrant families, huh? So automated translation could make life more difficult. If it could make life more difficult, answer is yes. If it could make life easier, answer is no, and otherwise not given. So please look for the word immigrant, migration. Exactly, second last line. Have you noticed all the answers are coming together, right? So let's see. I'm reading after open to question, though one noteworthy possibility is that it could overcome the language barriers that often arise between generations after migration. They say it could overcome. Now overcome means it will solve. What's the question? Automated translation could make life more difficult. No, it would overcome their problems. So what is the answer? Answer is no. More difficult and it would overcome. Overcome means when you solve something, right? Question number 38. Visual aspects of language translation are being considered by scientists. Now listen, if scientists are considering visual aspects of language translation, answer is yes. If they are considering something else, not visual aspects, they are considering intonation or any other thing, then answer is no. And if they don't tell us whether they are considering visual aspects or any other aspects, then answer is not given. Okay, now let's go back. It's the last paragraph, and I'm reading it from the first line. Last paragraph of the passage, first line. Whatever uses it is put to, though it will never be as good as the real thing, even if voice morphing technology simulates the speaker's voice, their lip movement will not match and they will look like they are in dubbed movie. The contrast will underline the value of shared language and the value of learning them. Have they mentioned anything? That visual aspects of language translation are being considered by scientists? No mention. So the answer is not given. Question number 39. International scientists have found English easier to translate into other languages than Latin. Now, comparison of English with Latin. Okay, same paragraph. Can you see international scientists? Okay, I'm reading it from fourth line. Last paragraph, fourth line after full stop. Sharing a language. Found it? Okay. Sharing a language can promote a sense of belonging and community, as with the international scientists who use English as a lingua franca. Lingua franca means global language, where their predecessors used Latin. Now, have they mentioned English is easier to translate than Latin? They didn't mention that. So the answer is not given. Now, it doesn't mean you see English, English, Latin, Latin, Taru. Okay? Don't do it like this, right? You need to see if there is the comparison that English is easy to translate than Latin, but they didn't give any comparison, right? So answer is not given. Question number 40. As far as language is concerned, there is a difference between people's social and practical needs. Now, when we talk about language, there is a difference between people's social and practical needs. So, exactly, third last line. Though the practical need for a common language will diminish, the social value of sharing one will persist. This is the difference. What is the difference? Practical need for common language will diminish. Practical need will diminish. Social value will persist. So that is the difference. One will diminish, one will persist. And what's the question? As far as language is concerned, there is a difference between people's social and practical needs. So one will diminish and one will persist. That is the difference, and the answer is yes. That's great. Now, what should we do? MCQs? Okay, that's good. 4 questions. First A, second B, third C, fourth D. Good. IELTS tonight. Tomorrow, Canada. Yeah. All right. Question number 27. We do multiple choice. Now, listen. In multiple choice questions, first read the question. Do not read the options. Do not read the options. Read the question. Find a clue word from the question. Go to the passage. Find the relevant information. Find the answer to the question. And then come back and go through options A, B, C, D. And if you read the question and the options, you are wasting your time. And don't try to guess in multiple choice, because logically you cannot guess. All answers are correct. If you don't read the passage and you try to guess, all answers are correct actually. Anyways, what does the reader learn about the conversation in the first paragraph? Okay, what does the reader learn about conversation in the first paragraph? Please come to first paragraph. What does the reader learn about conversation in the first paragraph? All right, so you need to skim read first paragraph and then you'll be able to find it. All right, let's just read this together. I'm reading from fourth last line. Can you see in English? Let's read from here. I'm struggling to follow him in English on a scratchy line that reminds me we are nearly 10,000 kilometers apart, and that distance is still an obstacle to communication, even if you are speaking the same language as we are. We haven't reached the future yet. If we had, Weibel would have been able to speak more comfortably in his native German, and I would have been able to hear his words in English. Right? He would be able to speak German comfortably, and I would be able to speak English, and there should be translator. Like you speak English, and the other person listens to German. Other person speaks German, and you listen to translation in English. So he says, Weibel would have been able to. So if we had, he says, we haven't reached the future yet. Means it's not comfortable to communicate with someone who speaks German and you speak English. If we had, Weibel would have been able to speak more comfortably in his native German, and I would have been able to hear his words in English. Now come back. In multiple choice elimination, like yesterday we were doing listening, elimination is the best way. Option A, speakers are communicating in different languages. Are we learning this? What does the reader learn about the conversation in the first paragraph? They are having a conversation. What do we learn from there? Speakers are communicating in different languages. This is not what we learn, it's understood. One is speaking German, one is speaking English. Option B, neither of the speakers is familiar with their environment. Didn't mention. Option C, topic of the conversation is difficult for both speakers, not at all. They did not mention what were they talking about and all that. Option D, aspects of conversation are challenging for both speakers. Now listen carefully. For aspects, actually, they have used aspect as the synonym of language. Right? So if you read it like this, languages of the conversation are challenging for both speakers. So aspects of conversation, listen, pronunciation is one aspect of conversation. Language is another aspect of conversation. Aspect means pehlu, right? So aspects of conversation are challenging. One is speaking German, one is speaking English, and they have problem understanding each other. So option D will be the right answer, because aspects of conversation means languages of conversation are challenging for both speakers. All right, let's go on. Question number 28. What assists electronic translator during lectures at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology? What assists electronic translator? Something is assisting electronic translator. Now we see what is assisting, and the clue word is Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. Second paragraph, they are in order. So let's see what is assisting electronic translator. At Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, where he is a professor of computer science, they mentioned the name up there. Weibel and his colleagues already give lectures in German that their students can follow in English via an electronic translator. Now let's see who is assisting this translator. The system generates text that students can read on their laptops or phones, so the process is somewhat similar to subtitling, right? It helps that lecturers speak clearly, don't have to compete with background chatter, and say much the same thing each year, right? Now let's follow these lines. It helps that lecturers speak clearly, don't have to compete with background chatter, and say much the same thing each year. Let's come back. I mean, this thing, they say much each year, means the lectures are same, right? So, question number 28, option A. Repeated content of lectures, maybe. Option B. Students' reading skills, absolutely not. Some options are absolutely not. Option C. Languages used, no. Option D. Lecturer's technical ability. They didn't mention lecturer's technical ability. Correct answer is repeated content of lectures, and for that they use the word much the same thing each year. Much the same thing each year means they actually repeat their content. So question number 28, correct answer is A. Question number 29. When referring to Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, now that is our clue word, Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, the writer suggests that Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, third paragraph. Okay, now listen. Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, we have to see what is it that writer suggests. Okay, so let's read from the beginning. The idea of artificial speech translation has been around for a long time. Douglas Adams' science fiction novel, Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, published in 1979, featured a live form called the Babel fish, which, when placed in the ear, enabled a listener to understand any language in the universe. He's saying, flying cars. You can see flying cars in 1980s movies. Right? And now they are in real. And many other things we see in the movies, old movies, and now they are actually happening. So he says, Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, published in 1979, they had this magic fish. If you put the fish in your ear, it can translate any language. Enable the listener to understand any language in the universe. It came represent one of those devices and all that. Now please come to third last line. We once could only dream of having, but that are now commonplace. So flying car was a dream. Now it is becoming a commonplace. Commonplace means it is everywhere. So please now come back. Option A. Babel fish was considered undesirable at the time. Not at all. They didn't mention desirable or undesirable. Option B. This book was not seriously intending to predict the future. He did not comment the book. Now we are left with two options. Option C. Artificial speech translation was not a surprising development. Maybe. Option D. Some speech translation techniques are better than others. He didn't compare anything. Correct answer is option C. Artificial speech translation was not a surprising development because in 1979, in the movie, they had already given the idea with the fish, which you put in your ear and it can translate any language of the universe. So it was not a surprising development. It was already there. So question number 29, correct answer is C. Question number 30. What does the writer say about sharing earpieces? Like you have earpieces and you share. What does the writer say about that? Look for the word earpieces. Earpieces. Earphones, earpieces. Second page of the passage, first paragraph. Alright, I'm reading it from second line. We find that there is a barrier with sharing one of the earphones with a stranger, says whoever. That can't have been totally unexpected. So we find that there is a barrier with sharing one of the earphones with a stranger. For example, you have your, iPods, right? You don't share with others. Say, pehle kaan saaf karo, tissue se. Then I'll give you my iPods and all that. So he says, we find that there is a barrier with sharing one of the earphones with a stranger. Now come back. What does the writer say about sharing earpieces? Option A, it is something people will get used to doing. No. Option B, the reluctance to do this is understandable. The reluctance. Now what is reluctance? Exactly. They say we find that there is a barrier with sharing one of the earphones with a stranger. Right? So, for that they say the reluctance to do this is understandable. And what is understandable means there can be some diseases you may catch. Option C, equipment will be unnecessary in the future. Not mentioned. Option D, it is something few people need to worry about. Not at all. Again, I'm telling you, if you cannot find the right answer, eliminate the wrong answer. Sometimes wrong answers are easy to eliminate, and then you are left with the right answer. So question number 30, correct answer is B.
सर एमसीक्यूज में हमेशा ये होता है कि एक सीक्वेंस में चलते हैं आप
Yes, questions and answers are in order. Exactly.
ट्रू फॉल्स नॉट
They are also in order. Only two type of questions are not in order. One is which paragraph contains the following information, and second is list of headings. Now we have the last few questions. Listen, questions 31 to 34. Half sentences here, and the second half of the sentence is in A, B, C, D, E, F. What you have to do, just read the first half of the sentence, the question, then go to the passage, find the information, and the remaining information you will find from the passage. After that, come back and match it with A, B, C, D, E, F. Question number 31. Speech translation methods are developing fast in Japan. Now let's go back. Speech translation method are developing fast in Japan or Japan. Yeah. Speech, you need to see the subject. Speech translation methods are developing fast in Japan or Japan. All right. Can you see second page, second paragraph, second line, and there is the word Japan? Found it? Second page, second paragraph, second line, there is the word Japan. Now, please follow me. I'm reading it from the beginning. Weibel highlights the significance of certain Asian nations, noting that voice translation has really taken off in countries such as Japan with a range of systems. There is still a long way to go. What does it mean? There is still a long way to go means still it is not perfect. Translation systems are there, but there is still a long way to go though. A translation system needs to be simultaneously like the translator's voice speaking over the foreign politicians being interviewed on the TV rather than in sections. All right, now let's come back. TV interviews that use translation voiceover methods are successful. Option A. There are concerns about this? No. Option B. As systems do not need to conform to standard practices? No. C we have already used. Option D. Despite the noise issues? No. Option E. Because translation is immediate? Exactly. Translation is immediate. Come back. They say a translation system needs to be simultaneous, like the translator's voice speaking over the foreign politician being interviewed on the TV. So on TV, it is simultaneous. Simultaneous means immediate, right? So correct answer for question number 32 is E. And we can cross E from the list as well. Question number 33, future translation systems should address people appropriately. Now, future translation systems, look for future translation systems. Systems. It's the third last paragraph. Systems not only need to cope with physical challenges such as noise, they will also need to be socially aware by addressing people. You know, one thing is like you say, Karamat Saab, kya haal hai? Or Karamat ki hali? See, these are two different things. So they should know where to use that. Socially aware by addressing people in the right way. Some cultural traditions demand solemn respect of the academic status. For example, it is only polite to respect this. Etiquette sensitive and artificial translators could relieve people of the need to know these differing cultural norms. Okay, let's say future translation systems should address people appropriately. Now, option A. There are concerns about it? No, this is, Fazul heading. It will not go anywhere. B. As systems do not need to conform to standard practices? No. Option D. despite the noise issues? No. Option F. And have an awareness of good manners. What is the word for good manners? Etiquettes. Well done. Correct answer is option F. Alright, we cross F also. Question number 34. Users may be able to maintain their local customs. Now, maintain local customs. It's the same paragraph, exactly. Alright, let's read after etiquette sensitive. Found it? Third last paragraph, third line after full stop. Etiquette sensitive artificial translators could relieve people of the need to know these differing cultural norms. At the same time, they might help to preserve local customs, slowing the spread of habits associated with international language, such as its readiness to get the first name terms. So, yeah, let's go on. Option A. Users may be able to maintain their local customs. Option A. But there are concerns about this? No. Option B. As systems do not need to conform to standard practices. Okay. Option D. Despite the noise issues? Not at all. So what are we left with? Option B, which is the right answer. As systems do not need to conform to standard practices. Please come back. They say etiquette sensitive artificial translators could relieve people of the need to know these differing cultural norms. At the same time, they might help you to preserve local customs, slowing the spread of habits associated with international English, such as its readiness to get on first name terms. First name term, like you call people by their first name, last name, and all that. So that is option B. Systems do not need to conform. They can just use a standard pattern. Now, which options were wrong? Option A and option D. A is there are concerns about this, and D is despite the noise issue, right? Okay.